quiet on the set. 1, 2, 3, action. Hi, everybody. Recruiting Animal here on, what's the date? May 29th, 2022, with two geniuses here early in the show. It's amazing. I'm so happy. Richie Rich Rosen, he's the top solo recruiter in America. So says Forbes magazine list, okay? And he comes to visit us and share his delicious knowledge with me, the recruiting animal, and all of you for free, okay? How can I help? That's his standard. And for once, he's doing it for nothing.
There you go.
We're going to do an ad for you can pay him to coach you, and we're going to do an ad for that soon. And Tommy Pistachio Elascio. Wow. Our boy from Maryland. Okay, yeah.
There you go.
And Richie Rich is in Boston. They're looking for a speaker. Neither of you guys are close enough to New York to go and speak at Rutgers. They need somebody there. Okay.
For what? My daughter goes to Rutgers. So
they're looking for a recruiter to talk about how candidates can improve their presentation using AI. Adam, I think the guy's name is Adam Rose. He's on my Facebook group. If you're interested in going there, visiting your daughter at the same time, taking her to the talk and saying, look, this is your dad. I'm a big shot.
Then you go get a good cookie and you're all set, baby.
First, you have to walk through the encampment.
Yeah, there you go. Don't tell me your friends with that.
I go there all
the time. You can't come this way. You got to walk a mile over there.
I love that town.
Okay, no, so you might want to do that, Tommy. Go there. If you can't find it, ask me, okay, and I'll send you the link. Okay, should I start the show again? Anyway, what was the first issue I was going to talk about? Yeah, there was a guy who said, look, if you're in an agency, do not talk too much about your private life. Somebody's going to use it against you. And I can get you the details if you like. Would you guys agree with that?
No. I mean, you don't have to tell them every intimate detail, but I have no problem telling them about stuff. I've made great clients and friends bitching about my wife.
So I hear. He always tells me I'm like her. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. See, I mean, listen, it's just a commonality. So
really?
I bring up politics all the time. I don't care. I mean,
yeah, that amazes me. Okay, yeah. So you're not afraid of people seeing your opinions on wherever, LinkedIn or wherever it is, and saying, I'm not doing business with that guy, especially now when there's such sharp divisions.
Yeah, but you know what? Who cares? You know what? You're probably not going to want to do business with those people anyway.
He's got a big enough bank account that he doesn't have to care. Okay, that's what I think.
That's why you should take my coaching class. That could be you. See,
okay. It's on Thursday mornings, 8:45.
Or you can do or private lessons, private classes.
Okay, but he's got these classes if you want to warm up, or you with these other recruiters if you feel.
I want to do private lessons with Rich, topless.
Okay, but if you want to go to Moore Essentials, Moore Moore Essentials.com, or just get in touch with it's Rich at cornerstonesearch.com. Is that right?
That is.
Yep.
And he's a fun guy. Just go to recruitinganimalshow.com, watch some of the videos. You'll see these guys are lots of fun. Okay, they're not just interesting; they're fun. Oh, Tom, do you agree with Rich? You can talk. I think we've talked about this before. You're not in agreement with him. You don't say, "I'll talk about anything." You'll talk about sports and stuff like that, right?
I mean, I that's one I kind of personally stay away from because I do have. I'm pretty I keep it kind of under the vest. I don't talk politics. Really at all because I don't want to get in arguments, number one, and number two, I think that's something that kind of I push off to the side unless you're my friend.
This company hires a recruiter, or they engage. I'm assuming it's a contingent recruiter. They give her a search, more than one, and they always come up with candidates on their own who are less qualified than the spec that they gave her, the description of what they're looking for, and she's worrying. I'd like to part ways with them. What kind of messaging can I use? Well, what is she?
This is the whole afraid to fire your clients, afraid to ask the questions that you don't want to hear the answers to, right? So, that's what happens in contingency, and that's what happens with recruiters who do this a lot, right? You just go to the client and say, "Hey, help me understand this." You give me a search, and then you end up filling it with less qualified people. I get you want to pay me a fee for a top quality candidate, but if you're going to fill them on your own, don't give me the searches because I'm not getting paid. And then tell them from now on, because of the situation, any search you work on is going to be an engagement fee of $3,000 or $5,000. So at least you get paid for your time and materials. I mean, that's easy. And if they don't like that, then they can fire you. That's the simplest way to do that.
You know what? That's pretty interesting because my solution was just don't message them. Just forget about them.
You tell them that your frustrations, you let them know what's going on. And if they want to work your way, they can. If not, move on.
So what I like is the way you threw it back in their court and gave them the opportunity to give you some money, at least for the time you're wasting on their searches. They can hire whatever kind of people they want as long as they don't waste your time. Richie, are you, what would you say at 8:45 if she was in your class? If she was in your class on Thursdays, what would you tell her?
I would say go to Morris. No, I would say Tommy's answer is perfect. It's like you got nothing to lose. 99% of these clients are going to tell you to go screw anyway because they don't care.
They'll say okay.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's funny because I've been getting more and more inbound job leads lately, and I've turned down a lot of them because they clearly have no appreciation for what we do. Like, I mean, I had a client, they just tell a company that don't work for this guy for years. Now he's got his own, he's a founder of a company, and they're getting a ridiculous amount of funding a year out. And then yet the guy, I sent him the agreement, he's like, nah, we can't do an engagement fee and we got to lower your fee to this. And I'm like, dude, this is a needle in a haystack search. And you just told me you got literally, like over 100 million in funding.
Like, dude, the same exact fucking thing just happened to me. They got an $80 million contract with the government. He wants me to find some needle in the haystack program manager, and he won't work engaged.
Yeah,
and I'm like, dude, it's $180,000 a year job. It has to have certain specific parameters. No, you're balking over $5,000. Fuck off.
But they're like, Tommy, it's urgent. We got to have it now. But
exactly. That's what he said. Oh, and this is important. We got to get this guy on board now because we got this contract with and he's one of the only companies that got the expansive. It's NAVAIR, NAVAIR, NAVAIR with the Navy. He's one of the only ones that has the missile defense background, right? So he's like, I know you're not going to find a guy with missile defense unless he's a transitioning officer. So I got to look for a transitioning officer. It's not a ton of them that has NAVAIR background, or take someone from another company that's got a program manager who knows NAVAIR but doesn't know missiles, right? And you want me to work on that a contingency? Whatever. I don't have time.
Like, just I'll wait. I told him, listen, I'll wait till you can pay the engagement fee and give me a real search. Otherwise, listen, I'll keep digging. We're good.
That's what I said. I don't want your $5,000. It doesn't pay my mortgage payment. I want your $20,000 or your $40,000.
It just shows me you're serious. That's all.
Yeah.
We're
like identical.
Yeah.
Sorry, Adam.
No, it's okay. Do you say that? Do you tell him, look, Billy, this is a needle in a haystack search. It's really good. It's the odds of me filling it are slim, but it's going to take, even if I don't fill it, it's going to take a lot of work. I'd like to be assured that you've got an equal commitment. It's only $5,000. Is that how you? Because they don't understand. You said.
They don't want to pay. His thing was, we've never worked together, so I'm not comfortable. I'm like, dude, you need references. Here are references. And if you really think I want your $5,000, you're crazy. I've been doing this for 26 years, taking people's money and not fulfilling searches. But I'm not going to do this on a contingency. End of story. Yeah.
Okay, but how did you get them then? Did you read about it in some journal and then call them up?
No, they called me. They called me.
Well, he called you.
Oh, really?
Where did he get your name? Word of mouth, or how did he find you?
I don't know.
And was he giving it to other recruiters as well?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because you get these clients who don't get it, and we talk about it all the time on here. It's all recruiter math. Well, we just get 10 recruiters to work on it. Someone's going to find them. Instead, no one finds them because no one really works in the search.
But that wasn't the case here. They actually wanted him.
They did, but they're calling more people. They weren't just using him.
No, just him.
I ended the conversation. I didn't. It was one of those things that either you were going to pay me a $5,000 retainer. I'm not going to sit here and sell you on it. It's too hard of a search. It's a needle in a haystack. And I didn't. Once he started balking on that, it was. I'm not going to ask him if he's going to give me an exclusive. No. It's retained only. End of story.
And when were you friendly like this? How do you talk when the
I was definitely friendly. I don't come off as obnoxious as I do here, but yeah, I was friendly, and it's just very matter of factly. And I said, look, you need references. If anything changes, give me a call. Is basically how I ended the.
No, but how did you tell him? Listen, this is why I need the $5,000 up front. How did you say that?
I mean, I tell them it's a partnership.
Due to the current employment climate, we do not work on contingency searches. That's it.
You're more diplomatic.
He didn't understand it. What do you mean he's more diplomatic? He didn't even explain it.
No, because I just tell them, listen. I mean, my pitch when I give the partnership thing, I just listen. I charge $10,000 up front, it's deductible off the back end of the fee, and 25%, the base salary, and how do I play it? And basically, I say, listen. I mean, I even tell them the amount of money you give me up front. I basically put it there. If it's a problem, giving 10 grand today, like I'm not worried about the amount of money you give. I just need to see something that shows you're actually serious about hiring. And if you're not, it's okay. But otherwise, if you want to do contingent, it's going to be 30%.
Okay, but Tom knew that this company had this deal. They're serious about hiring. But first off, you're up to 10,000 now. It wasn't last year.
It was.
No, it wasn't. It was 5.
I
think it was 5.
No, I haven't. I've been doing. I started at like 7,500, 80,000 a long time ago, but last few years.
I'm the 3 to 5 guy. Animals probably thinking of me.
No, I thought. Okay, well, I guess I'm wrong. I'm willing to admit it. I'm wrong.
I'm willing to admit it too. You're wrong.
$10,000 is a lot. That's a lot of money. That's almost like a standard.
$50,000 is even more money.
Yeah.
Right. If you hire a guy for me at 180 grand, it's going to be $45,000.
That's why I'm kind of wondering. My follow-up question: why did you walk away from what seems to be a great search? What was wrong with it? I mean,
it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, right? I got to do a ton of research because of the niche. Like, it's not my niche, right? It's close to my niche, but it's outside of what I do. I don't do government contract work that much, right? So I got to do a little more research. I got to kind of figure out who the players are or whatever, right? So there's a lot more involved to this search. It's much more difficult getting a hold of the people because they're on military bases and everything. There's a lot that goes into this particular search. So because so much goes into it, I'm going to get paid for the time and materials it takes for me to do that, right? Because I'm going to do all this. I'm going to go and I'm going to call these 180 people and we're going to do this, blah, 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 right? And if you end up hiring someone who comes in across the whatever or anything else happens, at least I got paid for my time and materials. I'm not doing it for free. I don't work for free. End of story.
But I think you made a mistake. You did a really great explanation just now, but that guy has no way of understanding the things you just told him. The guys are hard to reach.
I mean,
I can only explain so much, right?
You didn't explain anything. You should have told him this.
I did so. I explained to him our process. I told him what our process is after 2 conversations, and at the very end, he changed his mind. So
listen, if this guy knew what he was doing, no offense, he wouldn't have called you. He would have called someone who did government contracting.
Yeah.
I mean, so the guy didn't really know what he was doing, didn't know what he was looking for. Whatever, somehow, a way or another, he found your name, which is awesome. But you're basically fighting with the wall. It's like fighting with most TAs and HR folks. They're just like, nope, this is all we can do. You're not the cheapest. We can't use you.
Okay.
That's what it is. I mean, and I think it's a good that you walked away. I mean,
you got to tell them, like, you're not going to do it for free. You're not doing all this government contract work and then on contingency, are you? Then why do you expect me to do it?
What's Rich's line? Give me your software and I'll pay you if I like it.
Listen, I'll just try it out for a year. Don't worry. Be great.
Build me a building. Build me a building. If I like how the building looks, I'll pay you.
Yeah.
Did you ask him how he found you? You didn't ask? No. Rich,
so, no.
You ask how they found you if you haven't dealt with someone before? How'd you come to me?
If I remember to ask, yeah. I wish I asked every time, but I don't.
Yeah, isn't that an important question?
No, it's a curious question.
No, it's where you're getting your business from. It's good to know, isn't it?
Listen, I'm a solo recruiter. I don't need a lot of business. It's good to know.
You were crying before that there wasn't enough business. Now today you're saying you've got too much. You're kicking the bad guys out.
There's still not a ton. Just a different viewpoint of the market.
Yeah, it's like you want good business or business. There's two different things.
Who can
And
we
that-
blame this? There's a lot of stuttering on the show today. Is it happening to other people that they
Yeah.
see the guy's freezing? Who can I blame? Google?
Yeah. Blame.
There's a lot of searches you go out there and get, right? There's a lot of business out there.
Yeah,
But
there's
do you
tons-
want that
Lots of
business
people,
if
the
that's
recruiters
jungle?
are saying they're starving, even the
Well, that's the
agency
thing.
recruiters.
Did you see that this morning? These people are like, I've been out for a year and a half. I'm like, if you're not, if you're a recruiter, how are you out of work for that long? If you're any good.
Yeah, I
I
don't
mean-
want to get like this is going gets me in trouble. But if you were a recruiter and you
Bingo.
can't find yourself a job, you are not a recruiter.
You're an internal sourcer, basically shuffling papers. Because if you're out for a year, wouldn't you say, hey, let me just go start my own business while I'm looking for a job, you know? And then I can
You
pick up.
haven't worked for If you're working for a year, what the hell are you doing? Why don't you source straight commission if you can
Yeah,
only source? I never got that.
no,
right?
Agreed. Just why would you not hook up with other recruiters? Hey, let me find people for you. This
Go
is
on,
the space.
join the split networks. There's, what is it? A bounty jobs, and then the one that does fun. Join
Bounty
the split
jobs.
networks and search on those when you're not working. You're not working. What are you doing?
I don't want
I
to
know
work
I
for
get
free.
I get tracked for
But,
this. and
but
that's
Tommy, you don't
fine,
want to
but
work for free. You know,
Yeah,
I'd rather collect unemployment.
you can still collect unemployment and work under the table
I know.
and make your first deal, for Christ's sake.
But again, that's the majority of recruiters that are in our business. It's like, so when I play sales guys, they always ask, well, how's the rest of the team doing? I'm like, they suck, you know? And they're like, what do you mean? Why do I want to go there? I'm like, well, no. I'm like, how's your team doing? He's like, well, they suck. I'm like, well, there's my point. Most sales guys, like recruiters, they stink. They're not very good. So if you've got confidence in your ability, you can sell. You can sell anything, quite frankly.
Hold
But-
on a second. Wait. How do you know that the other team, your client's team, suck? And how can you sell a job where the other sales reps suck? I'm shocked.
Because they're startups, and it's not, you got to hit the whole conversation, but it's one part of it. It's to just illustrate the point of, hey, listen, you can't base an opportunity, especially with a startup. You can't just base it on as a sales team blowing it out of the water, because no matter what, they're not. Very rare do you get 70% of the team even hitting their numbers. I mean, you should have like 50-60%, but Snowflake, which is the hottest company, horrible company to work for, the most they've ever had is if 30% of their team hit their number. Horrible for being a rep. Great if you're an investor, but when the whole point when you're talking to these candidates, it's like, hey, listen, one, they start to trust you because you're telling them, hey, listen, not this. You're not just walking into this. Every recruiter comes in and says everything is Shangri-La, everything is just amazing. How could you not take this job? It's like, listen, it's a startup opportunity. Not everyone's doing great, but look at your team. Is everyone doing great? Of course not. Or you ask them, hey, how is everyone, who are the best? Give me the 5 best reps you know. And they're like, I don't really know 5. One, you can get good referrals if they actually answer, but most of them say, I don't really know 5 good reps. It's really the most common answer.
But sorry, Tom, I'll just come in. First of all, I love that when you said they suck. I can't believe you talk like that. But also, wouldn't the candidate say, well, maybe they suck because there's something going wrong with the company? Because I learned from you that a lot of these companies are poorly managed for the sales reps. They're not supporting them properly.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great because then it gets into a conversation, because I want people that are intellectually curious. I want them to ask questions. The ones that don't ask questions generally are not good reps.
And do you know the answer to that question? Why the sales team sucks and why this guy should come in spite of it? You can do great there even if no one else is.
Yeah, I mean, again, you got to remember, at startups, sometimes these are like, they'd be the second or third rep in the door. The first rep is building the building blocks. They're putting everything together for the company. They're not really set up for success oftentimes. But even if it's a company that's got 10 reps in the door.
I want to let Tom come in if he wants to, but I also heard Rich say that those foundational sales reps are the most important ones and that they make a lot of money. And the problem is that later on, when they bring in more sales reps, they cut the ground out from under these guys who are doing well. You're saying the opposite right now. Sorry, Rich. You are.
I don't work
Yeah,
startups like
it's
Rich, but I
context.
will say you want to be a great sales
Hey,
guy.
Tom, hang
Yeah.
on. There's context for everything, because, again, you got to remember, startup world is not like going to like IBM and Oracle. Everything is so grounded. Everything
Yeah,
is
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, at startups, listen, you get first-time founders sometimes. You get, first-time everything at a company, and they don't know anything. They're just guessing. So, you need a foundational rep that understands how to work with a startup. But It's a risk, and that's why they're getting a lot of money. That's why they're getting a lot of equity, because they're taking a lot of risk. If they can get the CEO, a first-time founding CEO, to understand why what they are trying to do is going to take time, and why it's not going to, you're not going to get a deal in 90 days if it's a big enterprise solution, is key. And that's what these
Hold on,
foundational.
but Tom is my witness. Didn't he just say a second ago those foundational reps, they're lousy?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so like he said, there's context to everything, and I understand what he's saying, right? Like, because I don't work startups, but I'm listening to what he's saying, and what he's saying makes sense, right? Like, there's so many parts and pieces to a startup. There's so many things that can happen, and like he says, what a CEO expects or what a partner expects versus what is reality. There's just so many parts and pieces that I understand what Rich is alluding to, while it does seem a little confusing.
I'm confused.
But listen, being at a startup is a very confusing place to be. They expect excellence. They don't always give it, because they're trying to figure out a lot of stuff on their own. Just like you go to a big company, they expect excellence, but they can let a lot of crap slide too, because they're a bigger company. They can absorb it. And you can go through the whole thing. There's pros and cons to being in a big company and to being in a small company. To me, I like the small companies because at least the guy's going to fire you. He's going to look you in the eye. It's not some third level HR person that's going to let you go. You have an actual control over your own destiny. You can choose to do well if the product actually does work.
And imagine getting in with IBM when they first started, or imagine getting in with Google when they first started. That's how I sell small companies. Getting in the door of the small company. Like
Tableau was a big client of mine. I mean, they were sub 10 million when I started working with them, and they sold for 15 billion to Salesforce. I mean, those guys made millions that we placed there, but they all took huge risks. Unica, Aptia, all these companies that ended up selling for billions of dollars. They took big risks. You don't know. That's what you're signing up for. You're going for the home run.
Yeah, you take this huge risk. You leave IBM to go work for this company that Rich is talking about. You're leaving all your benefits, all your equity, all this behind, and stability and security and all that to come work for this guy. And you can either become a millionaire or live under a bridge.
The problem is, none of my clients, I haven't placed anyone from like Oracle or IBM or SAP directly in probably over a decade. Probably, never from IBM. Because they're too coddled. They wouldn't survive in a startup, most of them, unless the founders. They don't know how to hunt. They don't know how to do stuff without all the different support mechanisms that they don't think are actually.
Yeah. It's like selling Coca-Cola. You don't sell Coca-Cola. You go, and how much Coca-Cola do you need today?
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing. So again, being a startup rep is a unique beast. It's not, most reps can't do it. They don't want to do it because it's a lot of work. They can't do it because
that's the key right there. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of unknowns. Building your own everything. You don't have a book of business. You don't come into a program. You don't come into a process. You got to do all that.
Yeah, but the one thing, like Tommy, you were saying, like one of the big things, misnomers. Everyone's like, "Oh, you don't have any other stuff." You get full benefits. You get full everything. Usually, may not get 401k the first year, but you get all the normal benefits and everything else. The risk.
I'm talking about like just the whole structure that a big company has.
Oh yeah.
Often missing in a start. Because I've worked for some smaller construction companies.
Yeah, you're not going to get the full on marketing. You're not going to get the full. You'll have SDRs. You'll have some light marketing. You're not going to have the inbound lead flow of an Oracle. But
the name to say, hey, I'm with Oracle. Buy our shit. Right.
Yeah.
You're I'm with XYZ Corp. We just started. We're competing with Oracle. Why would we want to use you? Oracle is known. I know if we buy Oracle, and if I call them, they're going to be there. Their texts are going to be there.
Well, they're not.
Why would I want to use you?
But that's the beauty of those big companies. Like Oracle and LinkedIn are two of the most, probably hate their customers more than anyone else on the planet.
I believe that about LinkedIn.
LinkedIn for sure, as Steve calls them, the blue devil. But no, Oracle hates their customers. They change whatever. I can go through a whole pitch on why you shouldn't go to Oracle. But I mean, these big companies. It's a completely different skill set selling for a big organization. It's a different mindset selling for these big organizations. And a lot of it is it's not always easier, quite frankly, because people hate Oracle because they treat their customers poorly. IBM, I mean, it's literally it's retirement's waiting home, nursing home. It's remember there was a SaaS company, SAS, down in North Carolina, used to be a really hot analytics company. It's a big company. It is literally death's waiting room. Like place to stop evolving, but so it's a different type of sale. Some of it's more of account management, less hunting, you know. But,
Yeah, that's a lot of it. What it comes down to is it hunting or account management? Coca-Cola is account management, and what's that lollipop cola company? That's hunting. That's going out there and getting your lollipop cola into every store possible. You're getting shelf space, selling the product line, and how we're going to be big and you're going to make more money on this, yada yada yada. Versus Coca-Cola, who they treat their customers like shit. Their customer service sucks because you need to have Coca-Cola.
Let me ask you guys a question before I forget. It goes back 5 minutes. These people, when you're selling them on these like newish companies, do they ever come back to you and say, Richie, you sold me a bill of goods? Or Tom, same thing. You said you've worked for small companies. You told them, mind you, if you tell them the sales team sucks, you're not telling them it's all Shangri-La over there. Okay,
I can honestly tell you, I have never placed anyone in a company and because I bullshitted them. They always
I've never done that, but I have had companies fail and the candidates come back to me going, hey, they fucked, they failed.
I mean,
did they blame you? Did they blame you, Tom?
Not really, no, because I didn't run the company.
Yeah, listen, you were honest with them in your pitch about the company. You walked the process, you helped them make the decision because if they even included you in making the decision. But it's like, listen, they're an adult. I can honestly tell you, I have never lied to a candidate about going to a particular place to make a fee. And I've never had a candidate blame me, ever. I've had clients blame me if someone left 6 or 7 months later, even though way out of warranty period. I'm like, well, dude, how is that my fault? And they're like, well, you should have known. I'm like, well, that's not how it really works.
No, but you tell them, how do I know that you're not responsible for doing a bad job?
Well, it's kind of it. I mean,
you actually tell them that, hey, it might be your responsibility, not mine. I gave you a good person and you couldn't manage them properly.
Yeah, you don't say it that way, but kind of that way.
Exactly. You basically say it without saying that. You're like, hey, listen, if you get some schmuck that actually does it, and it happens so infrequently that a client's going to come and blame us, but you just tell them, hey, listen, I mean, you guys did all the interviewing. This guy's was crushed it throughout his whole career. What happened in the organization? Like, what was the breakdown? Walk me through. I'm just curious. So, we can replace the person or, do a second search, not a replacement, but a fully paid replacement. But it's like, what happened? Was it the territory? Was the account? Was it the product? Was the leader? Whatever. So, because something breaks down. I mean, good reps are good reps. So.
Okay, but that kind of person, I think they're not going to take any personal responsibility. They're going to blame the rep or the candidate, and they'll blame the recruiter. It
depends on the employer too. I mean, that's a broad statement, Animal, to say that some of my employers were like, I remember a guy, he wasn't a good fit here. He interviewed well. We thought he would do well. He came on board. He just wasn't a good fit. He could never make the transition from consulting to manufacturing. We tried and they didn't blame me for that. They realized that it just didn't work. He had all the credentials, he interviewed great, the personality was there. He just couldn't make that transition from consulting to manufacturing, and that was nobody's fault.
Yeah. I mean,
the good managers realize that. They don't blame us.
Yeah, they took a shot. That's their responsibility.
Well, sorry, did I misunderstand again? Didn't Rich say they called him up and blamed him?
Some do. No, I'm saying not everyone.
You're the master.
That's what geez, dude, how did you not miss that? I said good managers don't blame us.
Exactly.
Okay, but they're not all good managers. Wake up. Okay.
Yeah,
exactly. So what are we supposed to do?
You're right.
Exactly? How are you going to worry about if some knucklehead manager who's looking for a scapegoat is going to blame you? You're not. If the guy calls and yells, you're going to ask him, well, what happened? Walk me through the process. Why did you call me throughout the whole stages? It didn't just happen on Tuesday. It's been going on for 6 probably months or whatever it's been. So
I even tell my clients, if the warranty is up, 90 days from now, whatever, call, and you think there's going to be a problem after the 90th day, keep me in the loop, because I'm not going to, stick you, right? If you call me on the 60th day and the warranty's 90 and go, we're not so sure about Rich Rosen, we're not sure what's going on, we kind of want to keep him past 90, but if things work out, will you help us out? Of course, yes. You're my client. You're keeping me abreast of things. But you can't call me on the 120th day and go, Rich bomb, we want a replacement for free, even though it's past the warranty. Well, what happened? Why didn't you call me?
Yeah. You didn't have a chance to fix it. Try to talk to the candidate and smooth things out.
There's so many things You want us to do everything so that you hire the guy, and then you don't want us to do anything, and then you want to blame us. So you want us to help, get us involved.
Okay, but what about I always thought, like, again, sorry, some people, Rich Rosen, claims to have bad client radar. Okay, I can't think of a short form for it, right?
Yeah,
And so how do you even walk into these bad situations?
we have bad client radar, and sometimes we let that radar we unplug it because it's good, or we think the search is going to be easy or whatever. So it happens.
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't work too. Sometimes your bad radar doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I have this client. You just don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, is you can be a good guesser. You've worked with people in the past, but first time you work with a client, it's always a mystery, you know?
Okay, but what if you said, by the way they treat you, how they're going to treat the candidate? Okay,
Yeah.
So presumably some of these bad clients, they actually treat you very well at the beginning of the search. Is that right?
Yeah,
But
that's where that doesn't work.
But it's the whole process. Cheating you well at the beginning, is one thing. Cheating you well in the middle and the end is another story.
Okay, but some of these psychopaths, they're known for being charming, aren't they? At the start of your relationship, the dark side only comes out later on, right? I've met people like that, nicest people in the world, but if you get in a conflict with them, God forbid, it's just terrible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of times where everything is going like from the beginning of the call that you got referred to them, they referred to you, and they it's great, and all of a sudden you're like enamored by how this relationship going, and then when they start interviewing, you're like, oh my God, what did I get into? Right? So that can happen, and maybe the candidate's still super excited, so you don't want to back out of the whole thing because the candidate wants the job, and there's a lot of parts and pieces that can come into the process that screws things up that you may not, because the candidate, right? Like, hey, no, this is my dream job. And you're like, well, the company's kind of fucking weird, right? They're all Scientologists or whatever. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I want to go work there or whatever, right? So there's a lot of parts and pieces you have to deal with.
Okay. Here's a related question. At least I think it is. Well, yeah, when it was related to something we were talking about 10 minutes ago. This recruiter. Well, no, this is a good one. This recruiter, she's got 3 or 4 searches going. And then she says, my company is in a rough spot financially, and the leadership hasn't been able to decide if they're going to cancel all searches, right? So I've got 3 or 4 candidates on the go. What do I tell them, right? She doesn't want to lose those candidates in case the company decides to hire. And yet she doesn't know, first of all, how to keep them hanging on in such an uncertain situation. It's gone on 4 weeks already.
Is the company having financial problems?
Yeah.
Then you have to let the candidates know that. Yeah. I'm sorry. Those are the hard things you don't want to do because you don't want to lose it, but you have to let the candidate know that.
So why would you want to work with a client that's already having financial issues anyway?
She's on the inside.
Oh, good for her then.
That's so she could be violating company policy by telling the candidates that. So that's a tough one. I don't even know what to do in that situation.
Well, I think Tom. I agree with Tom. The danger is there if the company is having financial problems and they decide to go ahead with the hire, and the candidates don't know that, then they might get their job rescinded. They'll quit their current job. All of a sudden, the company decides again that they can't pay them.
Or what if they go to work there and 2 months later the company goes under?
Yeah, it's just terrible.
Yeah.
You can't cheat. So
I had that happen. I had
somebody.
no idea the company went under. I had no idea they were going to close a division in Washington State. I placed a guy there who moved from South Carolina all the way up to Washington. He was there for 4 months, and then the company closed that division. I felt horrible.
Okay, now I know what reminded me of that. When Rich said, I've never placed a person by lying to them, this young woman was in just that situation. Is she going to tell them there's a problem here and see if they're still interested in pursuing it? At least let them make an informed choice themselves.
So the thing would be, Rich said he never lies. And I agree. I don't lie either.
Or
in her case, it would be if they ask that question. If they don't ask the question about it, then it's not lying.
Well,
right? So
yes,
and I know that's lying by omission, right?
That's
lying by omission. And on our
yeah.
side, that's bad. But for somebody who's working in house, right?
Yeah, I mean,
she has to keep that because that's like there's probably a NDA or something like that. She can't go broadcasting that the company's having financial problems. But if a candidate asks her, hey, how sound is the company? How financially sound is the company? She has to tell the truth, in my opinion, right? But she can't just call the candidates and go, by the way, hey, we're having financial problems, so sit tight. She can't do that. But as a recruiter, I would do that. I would say, hey, you're interviewing with, Animal Inc., and they're having financial problems. I think you should probably look elsewhere unless they are able to get some funding.
Okay. Here's a related issue. The candidate has a great second interview, and then the hiring manager starts ghosting the recruiter. How long should the recruiter bluff the candidate to say there's still something happening here?
Bluff the candidate?
Well, is a recruiter going to be
we're going to
honest?
Use Rich Rosen's email, and we're gonna tweak it a little bit to the client and get to the answer. And if they don't answer it, you're going to end up with and if you don't respond to me, I'm going to have to let the candidate go.
No, but what do you tell the client, the candidate, while you're being ghosted? It's dragging out a bit. Do you tell them right away?
You give the client 48 hours. Tell the candidate, hey, I haven't heard back from them. I just sent them an email. I'll get back to you in 3 days. Send that very blunt, either get back to me or I'm letting the candidate know you're no longer interested email to the client. And then if they don't get back to you in 48 hours, you call the candidate and go, hey.
I'm not clear. So how much is ghosting for you? 48 hours, or is it an additional 3 days?
It depends on the relationship. It could be 48 hours. It could be a week. I mean, I know some of my managers, like if I call,
but a week maximum. That's when you let the candidate know that I think there's something wrong.
Yeah. If any of my employers didn't get back to me within 7 days of the first initial interview, yes, then. First of all,
this was the second interview, and the candidate thought it went very well, but that doesn't always mean it did
doesn't
go well.
Shit. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I think Rich even didn't you're the one that said you send the fucking cops to somebody's house.
Oh yeah.
Like that's the kind of shit you got to do to get that question answered. Right?
It's just so people don't know. Fill in the story. He's not a weirdo. This was a very nice story. Tell him what happened.
No, that's when. I actually did it once for a candidate who was very grateful that I did it because he was
sick, right?
Well, no, he was just basically having a nervous breakdown.
Okay,
but he was actually very glad that I had sent someone to check on him, honestly. But no, the recent one, I had a client that owed me a lot of money, and the CEO and the president weren't returning my calls, and that was my main point of contact with the entire process for a CRO search, and. They wouldn't pay the bill. They weren't returning emails, texts, any kind of communication. So I sent an email saying, if I don't hear from you, I'm going to send a police wellness check to your house. The lady lived in the Bay Area, so I had police go check during the Super Bowl.
Really? Wow.
Oh, yeah. I got paid though that night.
Well, you're kidding.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like
they still never called me. They still never called, emailed, texted, wrote anything. I just sent the automated email from. The best part was, I placed a CRO there. And he basically left like a month later. So it was after the warranty period anyway. Not that there would have been any warranty for the delayed payment.
Yeah, and they lose the warranty for the delayed payment.
So it didn't matter. But then this guy was like, these guys are absolutely nuts. I'm like, I told you. I told him, I'm like, I didn't personally think he was ideal for the role. And I told the client I didn't think he was ideal for the role. So again, I was way above board.
But that's the hard things that recruiters are afraid to do, right? You're afraid to send that email that's like, either you get back to me or I'm cutting this candidate loose and letting him know that I have no longer, like, people don't want to do that because they're thinking, oh, well, what if he's on vacation, or what if this, oh, it might go together, and they do this all the time. I'd rather have the client call me up and go, no, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, hey, you haven't called me. I thought you were done. No, we still want to hire him. We still want because if they really want to hire the candidate, nothing you can say is going to stop that deal from coming together.
Yep.
So ask those hard questions. If he's a good candidate and he or she is a good candidate and they want to hire them, nothing you can do or say will stop the deal from going together.
Yep.
So don't do this. Ask the hard questions.
Yep. You can't smell desperation, and that's what most recruiters do. They're like, oh God, I don't want to find another client. Let me just let this guy run all over me like a bag of crap. Yeah. I mean, you have to have a little self-respect and a little bit of a backbone, and just say, listen, I'm not making any money with this guy anyway, so what do I care if I lose him? And like Tommy said, if they want that candidate, they're going to make it happen. They'll yell at you for cutting them, and then you say, "Great, you should have gotten back to me."
That is a danger. If, like, I've been in that situation, you know, the candidate's not a great fit, but you tell the company they want to hire him, right? And you can't say no. You can't hire him, right?
But you could tell them as a good person, hey, or as a good recruiter, hey, I don't think Rich is the best fit for your company, and these are the reasons why. It doesn't mean I'm not hiring, but you know, from as long as I've been doing this, he just doesn't have the gumption, or he doesn't have this or that or whatever. And you can tell your client they can still hire him, but at least you now have given them that information.
I also had an experience I might have mentioned before where I wasn't getting paid. I looked up the guy's home number and I phoned his home. I can't remember if I talked to his wife or his daughter. He went nuts. He went nuts. He called me up. He went crazy, and he paid me. It wasn't a big fee. They shouldn't have tried to stiff me anyway.
Here's one I had the other day. So I just made a deal a couple weeks ago, and the guy, they did a reference check. I did a reference check on him and sent him to the client, and they called a guy they knew, and the guy kind of said something like, came off of kind of like, not sure, right? So they called me back kind of freaking out because they had already made the guy an offer. And I said, did you ask him what his problem was? Did you call back your contact? Why don't you call your contact right now and say, hey, would you have a problem if we hired Rich Rosen as our project manager? And see what they say. And they were like, what? I'm like, yeah, go ask him that. That's the guy he's going to be working with, right? Ask him that question. Why didn't you do that? Oh, we didn't know if that was right. No, go ask him that. So they call the guy back up. And the guy's like, oh, no, he's great. I love working with him. And they got themselves all in a tizzy because they were afraid to ask the hard questions. You got to get your client to ask the hard questions and ask your client the hard questions.
Okay, that's another reference checks is a really hot issue today, but I'll come back to that another show. I want to do another ad because I can cut this out and I can put it on LinkedIn. Hey, everybody, if you want to get tutored by a fantastic recruiter, America's top solo recruiter, I think so, okay? His name is Rich Rosen. Raise your hand, Rich. Say, hi, I'm here, okay?
Hi, I'm here.
Yeah, okay. Otherwise, it won't show you. He teaches a group class every Thursday morning, 8:45 Eastern time. You can write to him, Rich at cornerstonesearch.com, or go to Moore, Moore, essentials.com. And you can also do private lessons if you don't want to make your moves in front of other people. Okay. And we've also got here, he's not teaching anybody, Tom Alascio from Palermo Roads. You know, some of the funniest, you ever watch the reels on, I shouldn't bring that. I shouldn't bring that up. Okay. No, it's not dirty or anything like that, but it's about Italian food. You're so far removed from Sicily that it's almost meaningless. But these guys are the funniest New York Italians on the reels. They're hilarious. Okay, and
there's one where there's got a lady, his Italian husband. She makes him holds his hands and asks him to talk, and it's so funny he can't talk.
Oh no! There's one funny Lisa. She's hilarious, but I won't go into that. But then there's always lots of interesting food talk. Hey, you guys, I had a great time, even if nobody else did.
Always a pleasure.
And I learned something from Tom about how they're not. What was it? They were hiring people. They're hiring you, and they're filling the jobs themselves. Go back, say, look, I'll work for you, but it's going to take an engagement fee. Rather than
all she had to say.
I just would have walked away.
All she had to say. This relationship is. I understand what you're trying to do, and you want us to get you the best candidates at the best price. But for us to do that, it's going to cost you $5,000 or $3,000 or whatever.
Okay, and I'm quite impressed though that even though I didn't understand it 100%, you walked away from that big search. Talk to you later, guys. Thank you very much.
Peace out.
Bye-bye.